And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game which has a very unique mechanism. I don't know what it's like around the world, but in America, a lot of people like to throw money into the garbage can. They do this by buying scratch-off lottery tickets. Now I know I probably annoyed some people, but mathematically, it is a horrible thing to do. But one of the reasons people do it is because there's the thrill of scratching things off. I even remember scratching things off of cereal boxes when I was a kid, where there was a thin layer on top of something and you used a penny or some other coin or a key to scratch things off. Well, this company decided to make it with a card. This is called Planet Surprise. You get an envelope and you get several of these cards in here that are used for a game, but it's a one-time use game. Now there's an app that this can be played on so that you're not actually scratching things off, but you're going to be scratching things off this card over the course of the game. Well, that's certainly innovative, but is it good? Let's find out. In Planet Surprise, each player is going to get one of these cards here. And you want to make sure everyone has the same card. So if I have B, here's another B. But there's different cards. This one here is a C. This one here is an A. Here's a D. You'll notice that they have some of the same things. Like, for example, this cookie-looking moon is on both. This alien's on both. But there are differences. And each card is essentially the same. Now, each player is going to get a turn, and what you have is you have a total of 10 turns. And on your turn, you're going to pick an action that you take. So when you pick an action, you're going to pick any of the actions down here. You'll scratch that action off to show that you've used it. Now, you'll notice that there's more than 10 actions here, so you're only going to use 10 of these total. The different actions mean something different. So this action here, the one that there's the most of, that's a public exploration. You say, I'm going to look at, and you pick something. So let's say you say the alien. And this is going to be a slight spoilers for the game, sorry. So you scratch off the alien, and you'll see a number on that alien. Now, each card is going to be different. Here the alien is 2. I know there are 4 2s down here. There are 2 3s, 4 4s, and a 5. But there's also 2 -2, 2 -4s, and a -5. So, while this isn't the greatest number to get, it's better than nothing. I don't tell people what number I saw. I just tell people I did it. When there's private exploration, you do the same thing, but you don't tell people which one you're scratching off. And just so you guys know, that's the only one I'm going to scratch off on here. I don't want to ruin this whole card for you. If you picked Hacked Radar here, you pick someone else and you say which one that they crossed off. So if I maybe cross off my -5, I'll pick someone else to cross off their -5. Here, the scout, you have some scouts. You can use those to look at one of your own and then look at someone else's card and look at the planets that they've crossed off. A stealthy exploration is the same thing. You cross off one, don't tell people what it is, then look at someone else. And the navigator lets you look at someone else's and then pick one of theirs objects that that person has to cross off. So you're going to be basically scribbling off 10 of these, maybe less, maybe not. At the beginning of each round, you're going to count the dots underneath the different actions that you have done, and whoever has the most stars, they're going to go first because it's a kind of a disadvantage to go first. After 10 rounds, you're simply going to add together all the different things that you have done, all the different points that you've gotten, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. So there's a couple things here. First of all, obviously, it is a one-time use game. So before we talk about what we think of the game, that's got to be addressed, right? You're buying a one-time use game. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. If the price is inexpensive, you get it, it can be a fun lark. It's like, wow, here guys, here's a unique experience. And if you sit there and go, I hate the idea of that, that's fine, and you can play the app version, I suppose. But I like that this is kind of a unique thing. I wouldn't want this for all my games. I wouldn't even want this for many games. But for a one and done thing, I think that's okay. Just as a, here, let's pay for it, pay a few bucks, let's play this game. Okay, let's go do something else. Remember that time we played that scratch-off game? Yeah, and for that, I like it. Now, the game itself is intriguing. You only have 10 actions. Obviously, you want to use the actions where you scratch off something and don't tell anyone what you're scratching off because that gives them no information. But that means you go first. You definitely want to look at other people's cards, but what turn do you do that on? Do you wait till turn 9? I mean, you'll get to see more of their card at that point, but you only can scratch off one thing on your own that you've seen of their card. You do it too early, you don't see good enough things, and you want to look at other people's cards. And you're using other information that people give you. So if I scratch off that alien and it's a 5 and someone else looks at my card and then their next turn they go, I'm scratching off the alien, the third person will go, he just looked at their card and now he's scratching it off. That must be good. Don't need to look at his card. And so that's kind of interesting as it goes back and forth. This is not a particularly deep game, but it is an entertaining one. And I think it's entertaining as people basically are calling out the planets, right? So someone's going to say, I'm scratching out the alien. Then someone will say, I'm scratching out the cookie. And everyone's like, well, what's the cookie? Well, it's the one in the middle. Or I'm scratching out the ball of snot. You're describing what you're scratching off to each person. And it's kind of that's kind of some humor to the game. The game doesn't take long. There's 10 turns. Each person will say what they're scratching off. Scratching off can be messy. If you ever scratch things off, it gets those little silver shavings on the floor or what have you. It's not a huge deal. And again, I think some people will be irritated at the fact that this is a one and done thing. And for me, this is a one and done. Hey, that was fun. That was a cool idea, activity. I don't know how many of these I would get. I'd keep a few of them around, right? And say, oh, you guys want to play something interesting and unique? It's fun. So I prove it for that. Okay, I prove it for that. I think it's cool in that regard. But I do understand if some people would be irritated by this. I like the idea of scratching things off. I wonder that this could be used in other games. Can it be used effectively? Obviously, it could be used effectively probably in a legacy game. There was some of these elements in some legacy games that have existed in the case of time. That's being nebulous, right? So here it is, the whole game. I imagine some people watching this are going to go, that's a dumb idea. And maybe it is. But I think it's kind of clever and fun. And for a few bucks, certainly an interesting pastime. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door. There.